The wildfire that threatened Los Angeles this past week is not a typical fire. It's what's being called a megafire. And scientists now say we should brace ourselves for more and more of these fires in the coming years. In truth, we've never seen anything like them before. Forest infernos, 10 times bigger than the fires we're used to seeing. 2 years ago, during one of the worst fire seasons in recorded history, Scott Pelley went out on the fire line to see why so much of the American West is burning.
These are the men and women facing the flames, elite federal firefighters called hotshots. Nationwide, there are 92 hotshot crews of 20 members each. We found these New Mexico hotshots in the Salmon River Mountains of Idaho. They'd set up a camp in a burned-out patch of forest with fire raging all around. They were hitting the day, exhausted, halfway through a 14-day shift.
If you guys want to go down and evaluate.
I'll take myself and a couple scouts and we'll go down there and take a look.
I'm anticipating a mess today.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sucks.
Yeah.
They found the mess they expected. The valley was engulfed in smoke. The flames blew through the fire break lines they dug the day before.
We were trying to turn the corner yesterday and that's when it kind of blew out.
And I think we got more ground over here that's been taken.
So, any questions?
No question this day the fire won. It surged across the mountain, forcing the hotshots to evacuate. All across the West, crews are playing defense, often pulling back to let acres burn, but standing firm to save communities. One stand this season came in August at Ketchum, Idaho. Forecasters said it was 99% certain that Ketchum would be lost if nothing was done. Fire crews came from across the nation, local, state, federal, 1,700, working round the clock from a mountainside camp.
Remember that as the winds come through, fire wants to move uphill, downhill, wherever the thunderstorm's pushing. It's going to move.
300-foot flames headed for these homes. Residents evacuated.
Within the next 6 hours.
We joined up with Tom Boatner, who, after 30 years on the fire line, became chief of fire operations for the federal government.
A fire of this size and this intensity in this country would have been extremely rare 15, 20 years ago. They're commonplace these days.
10 years ago, a big fire was what?
10 years ago, if you had a 100,000-acre fire, you were talking about a huge fire. And if we had 1 or 2 of those a year, that was probably unusual. Now, we talk about 200,000-acre fires like it's just another day at the office. It's been a huge change.
And the biggest fires are what now?
We've had, I believe, 2 fires this summer that have been over 500,000 acres, 500,000 acres, and one of those was over 600,000 acres.
You wouldn't have expected to see this how recently?
We got records going back to 1960 of the acres burned in America. So that's 47 fire seasons. 7 of the 10 busiest fire seasons have been since 1999.
You know what? It's hotter than hell right here.
It's getting pretty damn hot.
Whoa, it is amazing.
So you can see, you can imagine the challenge for young men and women with hand tools like this to come up here and try to put out a fire like this. But there's thousands of people down there with multi-million-dollar homes that are counting on them to do that. And doing that safely is our big challenge. We'll drop down the hill here.
It was 20 years ago that firefighters got their first glimpse of what was to come. This is Yellowstone in 1988, when a third of the national park burned. Since then, fires have broken records in 9 states. Several mega fires, like this one in Arizona, have burned over 500,000 acres each. Why are there more of these fires? It turns out that the Forest Service is partly to blame, with a policy that it started 100 years ago.
The Forest Firefighter Service stops fires, forest, brush, and grass fires.
The policy was to try to put out all fires immediately.
Because we so successfully fought fire and eliminated fire from this ecosystem for 100 years because we thought that was the right thing to do, we've allowed a huge buildup of fuel in these woods. So now when the fires get going, there's a lot more to burn than historically you would have seen in a forest like this.
Is it possible that we're going to get to the point where we have these mega fires and we just can't fight them because they're too large?
Well, we're there already. We have identified numerous fires this summer that we know we can't put out with the resources we have available because of the severity of the burning conditions and the size of the fires.